Hola, niños y niñas, and welcome back to our series, Lost and Found. I hope you have had a good week so far, and you have been blessed from this series. Let's give a round of applause to Sam and Mac for doing a phenomenal job, shall we? Yes. Good. Now, I would like to introduce myself. My name is George Cecil. I am one of the student leaders at Anderson Creek, and I am excited to be sharing with you today's message. If you're joining us online for the first time, go ahead and fill out you basset hound. Good. Now, I would like to introduce myself. My name is George Cecil. I am one of the student leaders at Anderson Creek, and I am excited to be sharing with you today's message. If you're joining us online for the first time, go ahead and fill out the guest card with the link to let us know you're here. So, to start off, have you ever been late to a party or a school meeting or even to church? You're dressed up and you have your wallet and keys, but you can't leave yet because you've lost your phone. Now, more than likely, you probably have it sitting on your dresser or on your bed or in the bathroom because you were taking a photo of yourself. Nonetheless, you're looking through your house and the seconds are ticking away. The pressure is starting to add up. And as you're looking through your house, desperately trying to find your phone, you stop, take a breather, and probably ask your mom and dad, hey, have you seen my phone? And they also have zero clue where your phone is, and they're asking you to hurry up. And eventually you find your phone and you make it on time to your event. So all in all, everything turned out just fine. This is a very minor situation, but you get the idea. You have lost something important and you can't leave without finding it. Sometimes it can be something minor that you lose, and other times it can be something extremely valuable that you lose. It's difficult to lose something that really matters to you, but when you find it, the reward feels immeasurable. You forget that you even lost it in the first place. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about things that are lost and how they get found again. Sometimes we feel we're lost because we feel that we're not noticeable, seen, or we're not valuable. Or when we know that we've messed up, we don't know how to fix the situation. Today's story will be about a young man who felt that there was no possible way for redemption. He had fallen away from his father, and he couldn't be a part of his family anymore. Before I get there, if it's okay with you, I would like to share a personal story with you. For some of you, specifically Anderson Creek, you may know that I was pursuing a career in acting. I was acting in the performing arts for quite some time, and I was involved in plays like Charlotte's Web, Chronicles of Narnia, and many more back in my hometown. When I went for college, I continued to pursue the career in acting by going to Liberty University and was a student there for 2 years studying cinematic arts. During my time in Virginia, I'd created my identity with acting. I was known as George the Actor. This was my desire, my passion, my drive. It's what I thought I was called to do. I had been involved with short films, movies, TV shows, and was even part of an audio play. I slowly got more involved with my own desires and began to throw away what God had desired for me. I left Virginia and was in Atlanta, Georgia, still pursuing a career in acting. I'd finally gotten my first talent agent and was in the path for having a full-time job in acting. There were two things that were on my way though. COVID-19 had struck the nation and made the ability to be in film nearly impossible. The second was that I was losing my passion for film. I was beginning to feel lost and alone, and I had nowhere to go. Throughout this series, you guys have been looking into Luke 15, digging deeper into the stories where Jesus spoke of what was once lost and now found. I want you to remember the parables/stories that Jesus spoke of. They were not historical stories, they were not real events, but they spoke biblical truth. This was for anyone at that time who was listening. First, Jesus told a story about a lost sheep to show the people that God isn't angry or judgmental when we wander away. Instead, God finds us and carries us lovingly back to safety. Next, Jesus told a story about a woman and her lost coin to show us God doesn't give up on us when we wander away. Instead, God values and keeps looking for us. Now, let's look at the third story. And this story is about the prodigal son. Luke 15:11-19 says, "And he said, there was a man who had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, 'Father, give me the share of property that is coming to me.' And he divided it to He said, 'Father, Give me the share of the property that is coming to me." And he divided his property between them. Not many days later, the younger son gathered all he had and took a journey into a far country, and there he squandered his property in reckless living. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine arose in the country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him into his fields to feed pigs. And he was longing to be fed with the pods that the pigs ate, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, "How many of my father's hired servants have more than enough bread, but I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and I will say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants.'" The first thing we can see is that the son is being impulsive by making a decision without searching for wisdom from his elders or his father. He made a decision on his own and proceeded to act as if he was smarter than them. We can see that the son was acting selfish and was focused on him. We can see that the son was acting selfish and was focused on himself and only himself. I think we can all agree the son was having an identity crisis. If you would humor me, have you ever heard of the saying, "the grass looks greener on the other side"? The son in the story saw what others were doing, how fun their lives looked, and how great their parties were. And let's be honest, they looked awesome. If you were looking at a party and it looks like a bad time, then you're looking at the wrong one. Get out of there and look at the party next door and reevaluate what looks like a good party, because that one was not it. I digress. Anyways, he sees what they are doing and wants to be a part of it, so he goes out and joins them, leaving behind his family and pursuing exactly what he believes, he thinks he is called to be. He is having a great time and he loves the identity that he's created. He is fun, cool, awesome, and he's spending all of his money to have that title. He wanted to experience everything he could during this time, and nothing was going to stop him from accomplishing this until the famine came. And everyone was no longer focused on him being the life of the party. Instead, they were focused on what he had in his pocket. He was not wise. He didn't seek for guidance from his elders, and in the past, because of this, he was lost. He had no friends. He was away from his family. He was working a crappy job, and he felt that he could no longer face his father at this time. Now, here's some context for you. When the story is being told, Jesus is telling the story to everyone. But in this time frame, they had a certain belief. The religious leaders saw pigs as unclean animals, forbidden by God. In order to follow and be loved by God, they believed you couldn't eat any pork. When the son in the story ate with the pigs, the Pharisees would have seen this as a sin against God. Many of the Jewish tribe would have believed that it was a sin against God. The Pharisees were judging him. And if the character was real, he would have felt that judgment even more. The son in the story had lost his identity. He felt that because of what he did and the terrible life that he lived, there was no possible way for him to be able to return to his father. He believed that he would be able to go home, but not as his son, instead as his servant. Let's continue with the story, all right? And he arose and came to his father, but while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son." But the father said to the servants, "Bring quickly the best robe and put it on him. Put on a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet, and bring the fattened calf and kill it. And let us eat and celebrate, for this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." And they began to celebrate. This is wild. So the son has basically sinned against his father. He's disgraced his family. And you know what? He was kind of right in saying, "I'm no longer worthy to be called your son." But that's not what the father saw. In fact, he rejoiced. He gave him gifts and blessed him with the best. He gave his son his robes, rings, and gave him shoes. Can you even imagine being in such bad shape where you couldn't even afford a pair of shoes? What's even worse is to think that you believe that you were not worthy to wear a pair of shoes. This story tells me how loving God is. Even though we feel that we've committed some of the worst sins and feel that we're not worthy to be a part of His presence, Instead of allowing us to live in the world of pain, our Father says, I am so happy to see you. Let me give you my best. There's literally nothing that can hold you back from experiencing the love of Jesus. He is there, ready with open arms and ready to embrace you. Now, to finish my story, I was a lot like the prodigal son. A lot. I had pursued a life that I had dreamed was the best for me. I saw the grass and I believed that it was brighter. But Jesus, I saw the grass and believed that it was brighter. But just like the famine that hit the sun in the story, COVID-19 hit America in my story, left me with nothing. And as for my friends and family, I believed that they were far away. I felt like there was nothing that I could do to get them back. As time continued, I slowly began to work in my hometown, doing construction and other small-time jobs. As I worked, I felt like God was calling me towards leadership. Not just any kind of leadership, but leadership within His kingdom. I wanted to return, but felt like I was not deserving of this. I did not deserve to serve in the kingdom of heaven. In fact, I did not deserve to be around those who had. But I called my mentor and talked with him. He felt like God was calling me to something bigger than what I had imagined, and encouraged me to pursue this feeling. So I applied to the internship. Been a part of Manna for nearly a year now, and I am right here in front of you presenting my story to y'all as a leader. You see, God did not look at me and say, hey, you lost it, your identity and all that. You've been a terrible person, and therefore can't be saved, you can't serve, can't do nothing. No, in fact, it's been the opposite. God has been blessing me every minute that I have been loyal to Him. He has welcomed me back into His home and showed me that He still loves me. The friends and family that I thought I had lost are still there, waiting for me, or ready to help me get out of the dark spot I was in. Look, there are two takeaways I want you all to think about. One, if you feel that you're not worthy to be in the presence of God, can't possibly be involved with His kingdom, stop. I want you to realize that God does not care about what you may have done in the past. He wants to have a relationship with you now and wants to love you. I want to encourage you to seek Him out and to trust that God will help place His identity with you. And even though you may feel lost, He will find you. Second, as a follower of Christ, we can sometimes end up being a lot like the Pharisees in the story, claiming that we may be better than others. We may look at ourselves and feel that we're in a much better place than they are. I want you to encourage those who are struggling, though. Talk about Jesus. Don't judge them. And don't force it on them, but bring Jesus up in conversation. They're hurting and are looking for something to impact their lives as well. They need a light to look towards, and we need to encourage them to strive for their Father, who is Jesus. Even though they may feel like they are lost, He has already found them. It is your job and my job to encourage them towards that. That's all from me. I hope that y'all enjoyed this video, and I hope that you were able to gain a lot from it. And we'll see you next week.